So what is the Romantic era? Well, it existed from 1820 to 1900, and it gave us some of the best composers, writers, and visual artists to date. The Romantic era was all about having a deeper appreciation for the beauties of nature while also exploring the depths of human personalities. Emotions were celebrated over reason, and senses were celebrated over intelligence. It was really about understanding how to feel and through our art, how to make people feel. Some of the biggest names from Romantic music would include Chopin, Liszt, Brahms, Wagner, Verdi, Schumann, Schubert, and so many more. These are probably names that you've heard from time to time, but might not be quite as commonplace as names like Beethoven and Mozart. Just the same, these composers took many notes from the classical era and took it to the next level, but in a kind of weird divided way, in that Romantic music in some ways was more simple than classical music, but in other ways was much more flourished, similar to the Baroque era, pre-classical. So mid-Romantic era, we're looking at some really detailed ornaments by composers like Liszt and Chopin, but towards the end of the Romantic era, things really got boiled down to basic elements from a composer that stands out as being one of the best, which is Erik Satie. Where Erik Satie sort of came at the end of the Romantic era, so you could say late Romantic or early modern, to me, he's sort of that dividing point of when we shifted to the next era, modern. Now for me, the music of the Romantic era very much resonates with me, especially on a harmonic level. There was a lot more color added to harmony, but we were building off of this Western foundation of perfect cadences, plagal cadences, deceptive cadences, all of the sort of harmonic foundation that we got from some of the best composers in the classical era. We were able to then color almost in, dare I say, a similar way to jazz. Now, am I saying that Chopin sounds like Charlie Parker? No, absolutely not. But the rules got a little bit more loose. We were adding sixes and sevens to chords, nines, exploring diminished harmony a whole lot more. And to me, because harmony resonates with me so much, the lushness of this harmony in the Romantic era really speaks to me, and so I really love the composers and the compositions coming out of this era. Now, I'd be lying if I said France didn't have a huge impact on the Romantic era. In fact, Chopin, who's Polish, even moved to France to study it as deep as he could because he had such an appreciation for French music. But that being said, this genre of course was not limited to France. In fact, Tchaikovsky, a Russian composer, had also a huge influence on this era. So Romantic composers were taking a lot of the fundamentals of Baroque music and reviving them. What I'm talking about is ornamentation and improvisation, but taking those fundamentals and expanding them on the back of everything that we learned from classical music. Now, what's so interesting is it doesn't just sound like more ornaments and improvisation added to classical music. There was so much more color in the harmony and the melodies that Romantic music really did stand out all on its own. And one other common trick that we would see in the playing of melodies during this era was a bit more separation from harmony. If I play a chord and a melody note at exactly the same time, who's to say that isn't just a bigger chord? Now, because Romantic era harmony was coloring chords so much more, here's another example. I'm playing a C major chord with an A at the same time, and to play them together would be to play, in this case, a C major 6, a chord not as often seen in the classical era. But if I now separate and play my melody note a little before or after my chord, it stands out more as a melody note. So because harmony was getting more lush, we needed to find a way to separate this color of harmony or the color of melody responding to and acting with harmony. Compared to classical music, Romantic music was built off of harmony that was more lush and colorful. The melodies were more detached and dissonant, and generally there was more responsibility on the performer to interpret the music as they saw fit. So it's my hope in this course to dive deep into some of the harmonic tricks that these composers were using so that you can use them within your own compositions, improvisations, and productions so that ultimately you can really tap into that lush harmony of the Romantic era. Now, using harmonic tricks from the Romantic era is admittedly one of my secret weapons. When I'm improvising, if I want things to not sound too classical, but also not to sound necessarily like piano film music, Romantic harmony really does hit that sweet spot that can allow people to really feel a lot of emotion without having to overthink what you're playing. So I would consider the harmony of the Romantic era sort of my secret sauce within my improvisations, and I'm very happy to share that with you in this course so that you can tap into that sound as well. So that's an overview of the Romantic era. I would highly recommend look more into it and also study it outside of the context of Romantic music. Also, all the composer names that I said, I would highly recommend check out their music. You really want to ask yourself, how does this music sound, so that you can best use the harmonic tricks that I'm going to teach you within this course. So that's it on the Romantic era overview. We're about to dive into these harmonic tricks. Strap on your theory boots because we're about to dive deep. I'll see you in the next class.